Hi, welcome to January. Happy New Year. Yeah, it's cold in Alabama, but it's not as cold as some parts of the country. We're going to look at some major market turns in 21 and help you get a good grip for what's going to happen in 22. Let's go. All right, welcome. This is going to be a look back very briefly at 2021, some major market shifts that are going to affect our real estate market, and most importantly, take a look at 22 to see what you can expect for the upcoming year. Now, as we close 2021, we did see a market top for our sellers back in April. We've already discussed that several times in reviews. April 30th, our market index peaked at 100. That's as high as it can go. Sales were in a frenzy. Multiple offers, over list, no appraisal, no inspection, but that seller frenzy has peaked and it has declined ever since April. And we're looking at still a seller's market, but not quite as crazy as it was back then. Big news, inventory we hope has bottomed. I'm going to say the inventory bottomed last summer, right after our market peak for sellers. Inventory's been on the rise since the summer. We hope that inventory will continue to rise throughout the coming year. But it was extremely low last year, less than 1 month's inventory. We're still maybe at about 1 month's inventory. We should be at 3 or 4, but that's good news for buyers if they have more options to choose from. There is no price top in the market yet. I know a lot of you guys are thinking about waiting for prices to decline. I don't know when that's going to be, but I know it hasn't happened yet. We did peak out for last year around the summer again at $159 per foot. And this is important for the Huntsville market because in Huntsville, Madison County, North Alabama, we price our properties price per foot. Now in Birmingham, for example, they don't do that. So price per foot doesn't mean much, but this is how our market is priced. So you can't just look at the average sales price and get an idea for what's going on in our market. You have to look at the price per foot. And even though we hit a nice high in July for the year, prices have still continued to rise. Here we are in mid-January, $165 average price per foot, which is above last summer's high, and we're still seeing those prices moving up. Interest rates are going to be the big story for this coming year. They have bottomed out. This is a chart to show where we were recently, coming off a peak in October of 18 at almost 5%. Bottomed out in December of 20 at 2.67%. They've been on the rise through all of 21. We'll look in a moment at projections for 22, but you can see clearly an interest rate bottom. So you missed the bottom if you haven't refinanced or if you haven't purchased, but interest rates are still at generational lows, so they're still excellent. So the seller market has topped, inventory has bottomed. Prices are continuing to rise. Interest rates have bottomed out. What should we look for in 22? Well, the demand we expect to still remain strong. Home sales are projected to stay strong. These are major national corporations that survey the market, have their own economists making their own projections. All but one are looking for sales to be the same or higher in 22 as they were in 21. Both years being well above average before the COVID struck in 1920. Pending sales are higher than they were. These are the last 3 normal real estate years we had, 17, 18, and 19 before the pandemic, were natural and normal average years. But since then, 20 and 21 have been above average years. Still strong pending sales. Also, if we look at showings, showings precede offers, precede contracts, precede sales. You can see that for October and November of last year, they're outpacing October and November of 2020. So we had a great last year, started off with a lot of showings in the fall. We're going to have a great 22, higher showings this fall than last fall. For the first time in 10 years, we're recording inventory increases in our market in Huntsville and Madison County. We have been in a declining inventory market for a long time, but we're just starting to see inventory bottom as we looked at earlier, and inventory starting to increase. A lot of our new construction is picking up pace, so we're hoping for a nice move up in inventory in 2022. So that buyers have more options and sellers looking to move have more options to move to as well. Now, this is information showing that we expect continued growth in our market for the foreseeable future. This is average of the major indexes, looking for an average of 5.2% growth in property values over the next few years. Homes are expected to increase at above average rates for the next 5 years. The average rate for home appreciation is about 3 to 4% per year. That's historical. But these averages are almost 6% per year projected over the next 5 years, which is 50 to 75% above average. Mortgage rates, unfortunately, if you're refinancing or if you're going to be purchasing, are projected to rise. I don't think that's a secret. Everybody's been watching the news. You know about inflation. You know that the Fed's way to combat inflation is to raise interest rates. So they're going to be looking for rates to rise over the next year. These are the averages of what the major corporations expect rates to go to. The important point here is not that interest rates are going to rise in 22. The important point is to take a second and look at the history of interest rates and where we've been, and understand that even at 3% or 4%, or 5%, we're still at generational lows in interest rates. So don't be surprised to see interest rates moving up. That's going to be in the news a lot. But put it in perspective and understand that at 3, 4, 4.5%, 3.5%, those are awesome interest rates. And it should not deter you from either purchasing or refinancing. One quick look again at where we've been on interest rates just historically here in the last few years. We do believe we see them bottoming out in December of 20, rising through 21, and that should continue for this year as well. 22, looking for another strong year in the housing market. So we don't see a crash on the horizon. Demand is very strong. Showings are very strong. Prices are moving up. Buyers are very qualified. More 20% down purchases than ever before. More cash purchases than ever before. So the people buying homes are very, very financially qualified, and most of them walking in with equity in their pocket. Just a couple of stories for Huntsville in the news, where it seemed to always be in the news. National Association of Realtors did a survey, picked 10. They looked at the top 300 metro markets in the country, 10 housing markets where prices are expected to outpace the national average. And yes, Huntsville's there, number 4. USA Today, 10 housing markets that are hidden gems. Prices are low and could soon surge in value. I don't remember where Huntsville was, but if you're in the top 10 out of 300, it doesn't matter if you're number 6 or number 8. So a lot of positive news coming for Huntsville in addition to the jobs that we're moving in. A lot of national surveys recognizing that our market is undervalued and expect us to outperform over the next year. We have a lot of assets available for you in the description below. If we can help you, reach out. I hope you have a great year and let us know how we can help. Thanks for watching.
Oh, 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 oh.